So a little while back, I did a review of my camera, the Sony a7 III. I'm using it to record this video right now, and I love it, it's fantastic. Yes, I am drooling over the a7S III right now, but in the spirit of that, I actually wanted to do a review of another device that I use quite frequently. Now, I'm not gonna go as much in depth with this, like I'm not gonna do some of the more detailed tests and benchmarks you frequently see in computer reviews, but this is my review of my Surface Pro 6. As of right now, I've loved using this as sort of my daily productivity device. So let's get right into it. So first, the body. The Surface Pro 6 is made primarily out of magnesium alloy, aside from a few plastic buttons, which makes it very solid and also very light. Now, I came from a Dell XPS 13, that was my previous device. Comparing that, which was made primarily out of carbon fiber and aluminum, things you wouldn't necessarily assume are super heavy, to this, I mean, this is something I feel comfortable in terms of the weight, just flipping it in the air and catching it. It is shockingly light. In addition to the lightness, it has somewhat limited port selection, but it is still a tablet at the end of the day. If we compare it to the iPad, it's fantastic. It has a USB 3.0 Type A port, a DisplayPort, which this is actually something that has changed for the newest model. If you're looking to get a Surface Pro 7, that is going to have a USB-C port instead. But that's pretty much the only difference. Otherwise, this model is basically identical to the newest one with its Surface Connect charging port. That is fantastic. And finally, it has a headphone jack, something you can't always take for granted these days. So the screen on the Surface Pro 6 is incredible. The bezels are frankly just too thick at this point in 2020. It's something that Microsoft really should work on, but it is beautiful, it is bright, it is vibrant, and it is pixel dense for sure. You can take it outside and it still looks great, which is pretty important for a tablet, as something portable that you're probably gonna want to take with you everywhere, including outdoors. Now, I actually have had an issue with this screen. There is one sort of pinpoint of light basically in the bottom left-hand corner, which annoys the crap out of me when I'm writing documents in Word. Yes, I'm very particular about things, but again, that is a quality control issue, and that's not something every single Surface model is going to have, but it is something to keep in mind. Now, the Surface Type Cover, as Microsoft would like you to call it, or as a normal person calls it, a keyboard, is fantastic. It's made of Alcantara fabric, which is something they use in race cars. Now, I do have my concerns with it. I was very excited to get something that would have been warm and soft to the touch like Alcantara. Over time, the keyboards do tend to stain. They build up palm sweat, get brown stains in the corners. Now, mine is the dark blue color, though they no longer make that for the Surface Pro 7, so your mileage may vary, but it's been able to hide the sweat for me pretty well. But I have seen disgusting platinum colored stained Surface keyboards. Now, the keyboard on the type cover is amazing and more than makes up for any wear and tear issues with Alcantara. It is bar none the best keyboard I have ever typed on. And that's coming from someone who doesn't care about keyboards very much. The trackpad is also pretty good. It's not something where I'm like, holy crap, this is the best thing I've ever used, but it is still the best trackpad I've ever used on a Windows laptop. Overall, though, the Surface Type Cover is fantastic. So, the Surface Pen. This was honestly one of the single biggest reasons why I decided to get this device. I had been taking notes on my Dell XPS 13, typing them out on the keyboard because that was a traditional clamshell laptop. Unfortunately though, I had teachers who said you're not allowed to take notes on your computer because if you write it by hand, you'll remember it better. That was something I thought that was annoying, but honestly, there is a lot of truth to that when you write something by hand, you will remember it better. But I didn't want to have to carry around 1,000 binders and pieces of paper in my backpack that are a pain to keep track of and very easy to lose. How do I get the memorization benefits of doing it on pen and paper and the ease of use of cloud storage of typing it in Microsoft Word? And the answer was to write it in Microsoft Word. And that was the single biggest reason why I bought the Surface Pro. I wanted something I could take notes on in class, and it has more than delivered on that. Now, I'm not a digital artist. I don't draw on this device, and there are people who have said the iPad Pro is far superior in that respect, but the Surface Pen, I have casually drawn on it, and I do take notes constantly, it is more than adequate. Being able to actually push down harder on the screen and then watch as the digital ink I'm writing with gets thicker or thinner depending on how much pressure I add, it's fantastic. This is one of the closest things you can possibly get to writing on pen and paper. And this form factor also is fantastic for taking notes because of the way you can fold it flat and fold it in so many different angles. Is truly impressive. Where something like the Surface Book or the Surface Laptop, honestly, this is the best device for taking notes in class. This is something every college student, every high schooler should seriously consider if they're looking to buy a computer. So this is still a computer, and the most important thing is, how does it compute? So the Surface Pro 6 has an 8th generation Intel Core i5 dual core processor. It has a 256 gigabyte SSD, 8 gigs of RAM, and most of that is going to be soldered to the motherboard, and frankly this device does not look very easy to upgrade. Anyway, it's glued together. So have fun with upgrading it. Easily the biggest bottleneck to this device's performance is the fact that it is fanless. Now there is a reason for that. It's small, it's thin, it's light, and packing a fan in can make a device noisy and also physically larger. It was one of the most important things Microsoft needed to do with the Surface Pro, which should be called the Surface Pro 5, but the 5th generation Surface Pro, where they removed the fans and shrunk it to the new, slightly thinner, but it does make a difference, thinness that the Surface Pro 6 retains. Unfortunately, that means that it overheats quite easily. Don't expect to game on this. I have played Minecraft Windows 10 edition, not Java edition. Not even gonna try that. The back gets really hot, and if you play for about half an hour, it will start dropping frames. It does run okay at 60 FPS for most of that first half hour. Eventually though, what you're going to need to do is let it cool down. Now, you can continue to play. My biggest issue has been, I like to take this device, fold it flat, put the keyboard on the back, hold it in tablet mode, play Minecraft with the touchscreen. Unfortunately, this also lends itself to overheat because the back gets burning hot. You can keep playing, it will start dropping frames if you leave this here. So my recommendation is either detach the keyboard or leave it in its normal configuration in front of the screen, not behind it when you're playing games, or the device is going to overheat at some point. In terms of creativity, good luck. I've tried running Photoshop on this. It runs okay. You could edit photos. I've edited photos on this before. It's more than passable for photography. Videography, forget it. Do not try to edit video on this. It is a horrible experience. I have installed DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro on this device, both of which run incredibly slowly, drop a ton of frames, and most importantly, don't scale properly to the screen. The weird, non-standard 3:2 resolution of this screen makes it quite difficult to run video editing apps. So if you're looking to edit videos, you're gonna need to step up to something big, powerful, with a fan in it, and probably discrete GPU, which this does not have. Other than that, no, this device is great for more basic productivity tasks. Anything in the Microsoft Office suite, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, that stuff runs fantastic. Outlook is great as well for checking your email, browsing the web. Also runs quite well in Microsoft's native browser, Microsoft Edge. Now, battery life on this device is okay. It's by no means class leading. I feel like I can usually just barely get through a school day, which is about 7.5 hours. I do bring my charger with me. Video chatting is gonna suck this thing down. It will burn through it like crazy. However, this is also the fastest charging device I have ever used. My Dell XPS 13 certainly charged nowhere near as quickly as this. It is truly impressive how fast on the native charger over Surface Connect this thing charges back up. I will deplete it after using it for like 4 or 5 hours, and then it charges back to like 60-80% in 30 minutes, and I'm left shocked every single time. Feels like it's getting faster. As long as you have space in your bag for your charger, battery life is not a concern here, because if you can find an outlet, you'll be back up and running within like 15 to 20 minutes. So the issues I've had with the Surface Pro 6. Now, my original unit, I had issues with the screen kept changing temperature and saturation after a restart. That was fixed by a software update I ran myself. However, after that software update, the trackpad started glitching, and it would not properly connect to the device. The trackpad is actually a known issue with these devices, and frankly, it's not something that surprises me considering that they have detachable keyboards. I imagine that there are going to be some software hurdles to jump over that Microsoft has not completely resolved as of yet. When I brought my original device to a physical Microsoft store in Tyson's Corner, they replaced it, no questions asked. I told them about the issues I was having, they gave me a free apple juice, and I got a new device in like 15 minutes. Unfortunately, if you choose to buy any Microsoft Surface device, because that would be a huge selling point, your mileage will vary because Microsoft announced that due to the COVID-19 crisis, they'll be closing all their physical retail stores worldwide. And that is something that has left me deeply disappointed for Microsoft and also for me as a Surface owner, because that was honestly a huge selling point, that I could get the Apple experience with a Windows device. And that it is an unfortunate blow to the Surface line and Microsoft more broadly. So, conclusion. This device is not without its faults. The screen could be bigger, the type cover stains, and honestly, the metal finish, it actually scratches quite a bit. I had heard issues with the black version, but it still shows up on the silver one as well. But overall, this is a fantastic device for a very specific type of person. If you are someone who values pen input, you want to be able to write on your screen, take notes, maybe you're a graphic artist and you want to draw on your computer and you want a Windows-based device, this is the one-stop shop. If you just want a regular laptop for typing in Word, PowerPoint, you don't care about the pen, look at the Surface Laptop. Overall, for the right person, this is a fantastic device. One of those devices, especially when you type on this keyboard, it's just one of those devices that makes you happy to be using it. And that's not something a whole lot of computers can do for me. So that's it for this Fountain Pictures review of another piece of gear that I use a whole lot. I took this to NDA along with my A7 III. Go watch that review if you want. Like, dislike, comment below. What do you think? What do you think of doing reviews? What do you think of my Surface? What do you think of my camera? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching.